Why is precast booming in India?
In order to execute projects in future, then we need to mechanize the construction.
What are Holocore slabs?
Holocore slab is a prestressed element. You can substitute this element in place of conventional slab or any other method of building slabs.
Some people say, why are they hollows? So they will say that, is it safe?
Yes, it is safe. In fact, it is a standardized product worldwide.
I'll ask the same question. Price kitna hai? Is it at par with traditional construction, more than traditional construction, less than traditional construction?
At par with traditional construction if we have good volumes.
What strands do you normally use? Is it Tata, GSW? What is the company that you normally use?
Yes, Tata, GSW, Usha Martin, there's Mickey Wire.
Do you all make slip-form machines?
No.
There was a client who came to us very recently, I think a month back, and he said, "मैं precast में करूँगा तो सस्ता बेच पाऊँगा." I said, "सस्ता." Hi Dinesh, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Roshan. How are you?
I'm good. So just 2 days back we met in Hyderabad, and I thought we should have this conversation because I feel there is a lack of information in the market. So I thought I'll invite you over and just have a quick chat. So before we start, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Dinesh Raj. I am the director in Technocore Precast Plant and Machinery Services, Hyderabad. We are into business of selling equipment for precast concrete.
Okay.
We do supply, we do manufacture and supply machinery for production of Holocore slabs. In various modules, we do have 150 mm, 200 mm, 250 mm, and 300 mm thick Holocore slab modules.
Okay.
Then we also supply table molds for casting of solid wall panels. I mean load bearing and non-load bearing precast wall panels.
So this might sound a bit technical, but we'll break it down as we move through to the podcast. So do you also manufacture and do you also sell Holocore, or is it just the equipment only?
No, we are also in the business of manufacturing of Holocore slab.
Okay.
Because as you understand, precast is an infant stage at the moment in Indian market. Though precast is an age-old technology worldwide, precast had been used in India in infra projects.
Okay.
Primarily in the last few decades. If you see, flyovers, the box culverts, the manholes, these are all precast only. But when it comes to building and building projects and commercial building projects, now people see precast as a new technology, but it's the same principle of methodology of doing the buildings.
I want to tell people that when I met him in Hyderabad and we were talking, because precast is such a niche in a small market, I realized that this company was started by his father, by the way. And it was such a coincidence that his father worked in the same company that I worked for. Just to show you how small the industry is, one, and also how small the world can be sometimes. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the company where you have come from and my father has come from, that company is said to be the University of Precast, professionals.
I think they started in the 1970s is when they started precasting.
Yes, the best precast, expertise had come from this company.
That's good. That's good to know. Anyway, so moving on. So why is precast booming in India right now?
Now, see, the traditional conventional method building, there are various aspects in this. See, earlier we used to have, skilled manpower. Now, as everybody is moving towards software technology and somebody going back into core agriculture again. Now it needs it is a need of our where we do have labor constraint. So in order to execute projects in future, then we need to mechanize the construction.
Okay, but even though precast is booming, only a few people are in the industry. Not everybody is.
Correct.
So, I mean, what will happen eventually is that the bigger players will take the bigger projects, the larger chunk of the available projects in the market. So how do you think we can balance this out?
See, as I broadly said, construction needs to be mechanized, which means there is share for every participant in the business. The cake is huge.
Okay. I mean, when you say the cake is huge, are there currently I know Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a big housing, the low cost housing market is big.
Correct.
Are there any other mega projects that are, moving towards precast in
No,
India?
as a matter of fact, if I have to talk about it, even before Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we have executed, government projects, specifically residential buildings in Telangana.
Okay.
There is a project called as Telangana 2 BHK houses, if you're familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
There had been many buildings, and these are G+11 structures.
Okay.
And these had been built in precast. These had been completed successfully, and that there are people living in it now.
Okay. How many buildings? What is the size of the project?
Uh, Size of the project is huge, but the size which was executed, there were combinations in this. Few buildings were done in cast in situ, few were done in my one technology, and few were done in precast. In precast projects, if I have to say, it's close to 7 to 8 lakh square feet, which was executed
Okay.
for
Okay.
these buildings.
Okay. That's good to know. And did they see a difference between my one traditional and precast in this project?
Yeah, there will definitely be, difference, because as you understand, when we look at it, when you look at cast in situ construction, because there, all the, the steel, concrete, everything is poured on site. There is no momentum, there is no loading stresses, there is no, movement in the building at all. So, they tend to use a low grade concrete. But when coming to precast, we use high performing, or otherwise to call super grade concretes. Even for columns and beams, what we cast, we start with using M30 grade, M35 grade. For wall panels, we use M40 grade. Then coming again to Holocore slab, it is M50 grade. And sometimes, when the stripping time is, you need a higher, faster setting time, then we sometimes also use M60 grade. So the grade of concrete is pretty high when compared to other constructions of building, which means there is these are higher quality buildings when compared to any other building methodology.
Hmm. By the way, the low cost housing projects in the Middle East, specifically if you talk about Bahrain, the concrete grade is C75 or M75. So I agree with what he's saying. Now, I've heard that the government had mandated precast, saying that 25% of all infrastructure projects, especially in national road highways projects, infrastructure jobs,
Correct.
has to be 25%. Now they're planning to increase it. Do you think that now, because they're increasing it, current players will start becoming more aware of precast technology? Because what is happening now is we have a lot of issues in precast that is happening. If you, I don't know if you're aware of it, we are sitting in Goa, by the way, and there was a bridge section that fell and almost created a big accident on the roads and also huge safety issue. This is because they didn't handle the precast element properly, and this is a very common, I wouldn't say common theme. I will say that safety is not that well followed here, and especially with precast, because there's a lot of lifting, and you have to take care that the reinforcement is not rusted, not corroded. You have to use good quality materials when you're making precast. The whole point of precast is that you're doing it in a controlled environment, so use the best materials. But that is not happening here. I think you only mentioned it that some people just consider concrete as concrete. If it's cast in situ precast, concrete is not different. So how can we change this mentality, and how do you think this increase in mandate is going to help the industry?
See, as a matter of fact, whether it is precast, whether it is cast in situ, or it may be any other construction methodology, safety has to be on the priority. First, safety, then the project. There are also other projects, not just precast, which had these kind of incidents. There were also unfortunate incidents which happened in cast in situ method also.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that in cast in situ method, even if it happens, it's not discussed. But when something like this happens in precast,
Correct.
then the then the precast technology is blamed.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is because not every stakeholder in this business is interested in precast. There are few. I would not name them, but there are very few participants like architects and structural engineers who are still not recommending precast. I'm sorry to say, because say this, that Maybe because they do not know how to design these buildings, and their business may minimize if people start adopting to precast. But however, also by saying that, I again say that precast buildings are superior buildings, as the reason these are made in factory under controlled conditions. Then the end product will be very good. Yes, as you said, there are also some site-based precast plants which lack the required quality control.
Hmm. But since it is in a site, even if it is site-based precast factory, let me give you an example. What used to happen earlier when it was Carson C2, you had a 100-kilometer long project.
Correct.
So that means you need many QA/QC engineers to go to all these locations and do the QA/QC check.
Correct.
Now that is not always possible. Now with a factory, because it's in one place, the quality check should be simpler and easier, and yet it's not happening. I think this is because the codes, the requirement of the codes, are not implemented or forced upon the contractor.
No, earlier we used to have we did not had Indian codes for all the precast elements. Earlier we used to follow BS standards or American standards, mostly BS standards. Now India also has introduced we do have our own IS codes now for each and every precast element.
I think there is IS code for pre-stress elements, for non-reinforced elements in precast, and also for housing now.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
For every element we have code now.
Okay.
So we can simply follow the code, and we will achieve the required quality standards.
Okay. I think, like you were mentioning, the safety issue, especially with the corroded bars being used, and what people don't realize is if you walk down the road now, just where there's construction going on, all the reinforcement is exposed and it's brownish and it's corroded, and they'll just pour concrete over it.
Correct.
And this has become a normal now. It's not something that is even talked about. But whereas I came to India in January, and because I was working in the construction field outside for so long, the QA/QC checks are so stringent that even there's a little bit of brownish in the reinforcement, you have to change it, or you have to sandblast it and remove the reinforcement. So how do you think this can be changed?
See, first our Indian mentality has to change. See, this is also a professional work to be done. For instance, if you go to a doctor, you are sick, you go to a doctor. Doctor gives you certain medicines. You take that prescription, you go to medical store, and you buy it from there and you take it. You don't make your own medicine and eat. It's a similar method. People has to follow. They have to go to a structural engineer. They have to go to an architect, then structural engineer. There is a methodology. Then they have to go to a proper contractor who knows what he is doing. But here, people mostly, to save money, they will go directly to a mason. Get the construction done without any proper design, no seismic, no ground checks, no soil testing, nothing is done. We just go to a mason. He's the expert, and you follow whatever he says, and just to save the money. But we don't understand that we are investing the whole life money on to construction of your home, and we are not doing proper checks. There is a procedure. We have to do that. Until or unless we follow that kind of quality, and that proper designing is done. I'm sorry, this is what is being.
But you're talking about down the line. I'm saying the quality has to be pushed from the main stakeholder, like for example, the government or a property developer. They have to say that I'm implementing a QA/QC, standard, and my people will come and check, and you have to follow it. And why is that not done from the stakeholder?
No, the government has started doing it now.
Okay.
Earlier it may not be there, but now government itself is promoting precast technology. They're pushing precast building system. In fact, as last month I've heard Mr. Nitin Gadkari talking about Mumbai buildings to be converted into precast construction.
I think Maharashtra as a whole, I think they are changing to precast now. Yeah.
So they know the benefit of utilizing precast. There is time saving. We have higher quality buildings, proper finishes. You don't see human error in these kind of buildings. because everything is made in factory under controlled conditions.
There are 2 points I want to talk about here. I think first one, what he's saying about the Maharashtra government talking about mandating precast. That is come in some newspapers. I have to still confirm it, but there is news that Maharashtra government is going to make it compulsory to use precast concrete for all real estate development. Additionally, another thing, because we are in the business of helping people to start precast factories, there was a client who came to us very recently, I think a month back, and he said, मैं precast में करूँगा तो सस्ता बेच पाऊंगा. I said, सस्ता पता नहीं, लेकिन आपके वॉल्यूम के हिसाब से है. So I told him, if you have big volume, you can sell it at cost of a traditional, but finish much faster. If you're finishing something in 5 years, you can finish it in 1 year or 2 years. Additionally, he said, okay, I'm doing it at X price. I don't want to mention rates here. I'm doing it at X price. That X price was so low that even the cost of material will not be covered. So I asked him, how are you doing at this rate? He said, you cannot. I told him, how are you maintaining the quality with this? He said, I don't care about quality. I only care about cost. And he said, I said, but there are RERA standards. He said, yes, RERA is for a certain period. I want my building to have a guarantee for that period. Once I award it to or hand it over to the society, the building leaks is not my problem. This is the mentality.
Correct.
I'm not saying everybody is there, but there are people.
India had widely been, price concerned market. But now people start, changing this methodology, because now you give good quality, people are there to pay that kind of money. People are investing, their lifetime income on these homes. So, you give good product, obviously you will have that kind of, buyers for your projects.
Okay. So let us go into something more, technical.
Yes, please.
What are Holocore slabs?
Holocore slab is a prestressed element, which where you can substitute this element in place of conventional slab or any other method of building slabs. It can be used either for residential, commercial, and any other slab, but it's just a roof slab.
Okay. And what are the advantages of Holocore slab and disadvantages? Let's talk about both.
The first advantage is, Holocore slab is less weight. It is almost 40% less weight when compared to, same thickness of cast in situ or any other solid slab. And as it is a prestressed element, we can achieve longer spans and higher loads when compared to other method slabs.
Some people say, why are they hollows? So they will say that, is it safe?
Yes, it is safe. In fact, it is a standardized product worldwide. It is not experimented in India or by one or two players. It's there since ages. It's new to India, but it's there. It has been used elsewhere, from maybe 3 or 4 decades. And as the reason, people see the voids there. But if I have to talk in technical terms, we are reducing the dead weight of the slab, which means the weight on your structure is reduced because of the less weight of the slabs.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, now the next question will be that how are Holocore slabs manufactured? Of course, that is going to be a very detailed explanation if you want to know how it's manufactured.
In fact, I would like to add a couple of things also here, because see, we talked about the voids in the slab, hollowness. This is reducing the dead weight of the slab, but it is also giving us benefit where it is reducing sound, floor to floor sound. I mean, for sound reduction is 50%. Then it can control the temperature, because the void is acting as vacuum and it will not transmit any temperatures between the floors. So I think it's a green product end of the day.
I'll ask the same question. Price kitna hai?
Price will obviously see precast. When we talk about precast, it's just not a product. It includes the logistics part. It includes craneage. It includes erection feasibility. So cost is something which can be arrived.
My question is it at par with traditional construction, more than traditional construction, less than traditional construction?
At par with traditional construction if we have good volumes.
Okay. What is that volume?
Anywhere to start with 1.5 lakh square feet.
Okay, 1.5 lakh square feet. So it's big. It's more suitable for bigger projects.
Yeah, it is more suitable for bigger projects, but it as you look at the building project as cost, you don't compare only slab to slab. You compare the entire building to the entire building, then your cost will be saved. You will come to a par.
At par.
At
Okay.
par.
I wanted to highlight here that the company that I used to work for earlier, the company started Precast in 1970s, and they used to manufacture Holocore since then. So what he's talking about, Holocore slabs being a new product in India, it is a new product in India. I think even in India, it's been there for 2 decades now.
Yeah,
Two
closely
decades.
2 decades now. Yes.
So it's been there for a long, long time. It is a tried, tested product, and that everybody uses. It is just that we need to create more awareness here. In terms of pricing, what we have noticed is we can sell Holocore slabs even to smaller projects, because what happens with smaller projects is smaller projects, they generally want it to be completed faster. And when they look at that, Holocore slabs become at par with traditional construction. Your weight of the building reduces, material reduces, sustainability, all those clauses also kick in. So yeah, there are a lot of advantages of having Holocore slabs. Now, when we come to the manufacturing, I mean, of course, the manufacturing process is huge. If you want to know the manufacturing process, we have a free webinar that you can attend. The link will be in the bio. Now, if I have to explain the difference between pouring concrete and extruding concrete, because generally how is concrete poured? In every construction job, you have a mold, you pour concrete,
Correct.
and it's the concrete product is made like a building.
Correct.
But in Holocore, you don't pour it. You don't pour the concrete, you extrude the concrete.
Correct.
So how will you, what is extrusion? One, and then what is an extruder?
Yeah. See, first I will finish with, I'll give you the answer for, pouring and Holocore. And pouring of concrete is done to the elements where, you have to vibrate it. You have to externally compact this concrete. So for wall panels, columns, beams, even in cast in situ, all these elements has to be poured. This concrete will be poured and vibrated so that, it gets proper compaction. Coming to Holocore, in Holocore we use low, water cement ratio. The water content in Holocore casting is very less. It's almost 0.3% water cement ratio. When you take this concrete in your hand, the slump will not be touched to your hand. So it's that kind of dry concrete. And the principle also says, the optimal use of water in the concrete will make the concrete stronger. So we use the optimum water as required for production of Holocore. And extruder is a machine which casts this Holocore slab. We simply supply concrete to the extruder bucket, and the slab is automatically cast with the machine with the extrusion principle, wherein extrusion is nothing but pushing through screws. So there will be screws in the bottom of this bucket where the concrete is poured onto the screws, and screws will push the concrete out along with the oscillation eccentricity. Then with the pressure of concrete, the casting of Holocore slab is done.
Okay. To elaborate more, basically there are beds, steel beds in your factory, and this extrusion machine, like you mentioned, the concrete will poured and the slab is extruded, and the extruder moves slowly on this bed and casts the slab. And then once it's cured, which is in 12 hours, you can just simply cut as required and take it to this factory, cure it for 7 days, and then deliver to site at whatever spans you needed. The thickness varies. You start with 150, 200, 225 mm. So it varies. Many companies have up to 500 mm slabs. The more the thickness, more the span. So your company does what thicknesses?
We do 150 mm, 200 mm, 250 mm, and 300 mm thickness.
Okay.
At the moment, but we are planning to introduce 400 and 500 also. That may be widely required for international market, but looking at our Indian roads and our transport system, the maximum length of the trailer vehicle required available with us is 12 meters. So looking at 12 meter span, if I have to say 250 mm thick slab is more than sufficient.
Okay.
But 300 we have done for few buildings where they required higher loads. Just one example is we have designed for one building where they require 2.5 tons per square meter at the span of 6 meters, where we have used 300 Holocore slab.
Okay. At what span?
6 meters.
6 meters. But generally for 6 meters, 150 should be enough because of the load you
Actually,
increase.
because of the load.
Okay. Now,
See, 150 mm thick can be designed up to span of 8 meters. 200 can be designed up to 10.5, 11 meters typically. 250 can go up to 13 meters. 300 can be designed up to 15 meters.
Okay. And if you do manufacture 400 and 500, I know the spans for Elematic machine, but if it is what spans can you achieve for 400 and 500?
See, it will be almost similar to the other company. The principle of the casting of slabs is same.
Okay, the strand pattern also is similar.
The strand pattern will be designed as per the requirement.
Okay, and strands. What strands do you normally use? Is it Tata, JSW? What is the company that you normally use?
Yes, Tata, JSW, Usha Martin. There's Mickey Wire.
Okay. By the way, in Holocore slabs, you don't use traditional rebar reinforcement, TMT bar. You use strands, which are stressed, which are supplied by Tata and JSW and the companies you just mentioned. I want to highlight that Holocore slabs are used so much everywhere else. Holocore slabs and post-tension slabs, that Tata exports so much of these strands that they don't have enough supply in India.
Yes, they are not in position to cater to Indian market.
Correct. Yeah. So, and even though when I was abroad and ordering from Tata, we had a 6-month waiting period.
Correct.
That's the demand that is there for these strands. So, for the engineers out there, what is the difference between slip form and extrusion?
See, as I've just talked about extrusion, the concrete, the concrete is pushed with the pressure of screws or otherwise extrusion principle, and with the pressure of compaction of the concrete, the machine starts moving. And slip form is casting of holocore in hammering method. I mean, it is hammered in 2 layers. The first bottom half is about less than half. The bottom layer is hammered, and the second stage of hammering is done to the entire slab. So the first one is with screws. The second one is with hammering system.
Okay. Do you all make slip form machines?
No. Worldwide, if you see, holocore slabs are best made with extruders.
Okay.
Those slip form can also make other elements, but we focus more on holocore, so we want to give best quality holocore machines.
Okay. Now, when it comes to, now we're talking only about slabs, right?
Correct.
Slabs. Now, you said you also supply molds for like the casting tables. Correct. Or any other molds that may require, like boundary walls, whatever may require.
Correct.
Now, when it comes to full building systems, is that a market that is already there in India? And do you think there is scope for this market?
See, Precast had been in India since maybe one and a half decade. But there are still very few, executors doing projects with Precast. Now, once it becomes, a daily. See, if I have to give you some examples, while I worked in Dubai earlier, and in Dubai, if you see, majority of the buildings are done in Precast. And there are companies who make elements and, supply to it. It's like a big brick factory, what we do in Hyderabad, in India. You order bricks, you bring it, and you make the masonry wall. It's the same method what was done in Dubai. I'm assuming that kind of market to come to India.
Okay, so you're seeing that, as in, for that to happen first, I think the government has to push the
government
system.
Has to push the system, and structural engineers and architects has to start adopting this methodology.
What I've heard is the Dharavi project. The slums in Bombay that they are redeveloping is completely in precast.
All right.
And Adani is building mega factories there. And Adani, I think, building 7 or 8 factories in India and 1 in Abu Dhabi.
See, as a matter of fact, as we understand now, the India is the 4th biggest economy, and we are racing very fast, to to be to the top along with China. I mean, in the competition with China, if I have to say, we have to get into, we have to adopt all the methodologies, all
We're
the
still far away
technologies.
from China, but we should get there. Yeah.
We should get there. In order to get there, we need to adopt. We have to change. We have to, move with the technology. We cannot resist, technologies anymore. Most of the things has to mechanize. As I'd been telling you, construction has to mechanize.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I was saying. So when I came back to India, everybody is a contractor. If I want to,
Yes.
because my house was a mess because I was out of India for so long, I wanted to redo the house. Everybody is a contractor. The person who used to deliver newspaper before now is one of the biggest contractors, and he's not even gone to school, but he's doing your beams, columns.
Correct.
Okay, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. So people have ambitions, but I'm saying for certain technical things, you should have engineers. Like you will not go to a what can I say, a librarian if you have fever.
Correct.
So
Yes.
so this is the problem with construction, that it is just assumed that it's a very easy thing to do. You just put in some steel, you pour some concrete, and your house is ready. But unfortunately, that is not the situation. You start having cracks, you have leakage issues. Even with precast now, I don't know if you are aware. I think because you're in the industry, you should be that, there is a bad name in precast saying, oh, there are a lot of leakage issues in precast. Okay. Generally, when we went around and did our analysis, we realized that, when the panels are put in place and the grouting is done, they don't prop it and it's not leveled. It's not, the panels are not aligned together. Some people, if you don't understand, attend the webinar where we explain all this, but it's very difficult to explain in visuals here. I'll try to put something as overlay for this video, but what I'm trying to say is when you put two slabs on the foundation, or not slabs, the panels, they're not aligned. Even a slight misalignment can cause structural issues and leakage issues.
Correct. There are two aspects in precast building. One is production in the factory, which is obviously under quality control. And the second one is also as important as the production, which is workmanship. For the installation of elements and the grouting process and the alignment and all this procedure, there are certain procedures that has to be followed.
Okay, but I hope that the laws and the rules are made more stringent here, so that we get better quality buildings, because there is a big difference in construction quality when you leave from India and you come to
Basically, as
India.
a precaster, we ourselves don't, tend to use lower quality products. See what happens if it is a cast in situ building. You're putting shuttering there, pour the concrete. After a certain time, you take out the shuttering, nothing happens there. But here in precast factories, we pour concrete. If we do any manipulation with the material, when at the time we are stripping the element from the mold, the element damages. That is a loss to a precaster. Why would anybody do that? And putting into the other aspects of this is once is stripping out of the mold, then it has to take the handling stresses. Then we put it on a vehicle, it has to reach the site, it has to go through all the bumpy roads, it has to take all those jerks and all. Again, for erection we handle it with a crane. So material quality any precaster will not compromise with.
I don't know if you're aware of, there was a earthquake a few years back in Turkey where it destroyed all the buildings. It was a big issue, and India had sent some aid as well to the country. After this incident, they realized that nobody followed seismic laws, even though that was I think, as per the zoning, it was a high earthquake prone area. They used to pay money to the municipality or the approving agent, and get their buildings approved. And when the disaster happened and everything fell and lots of lives were lost, is when they now realize, oh, we have to make it more strict. I mean, I'm not saying that, I hope nothing happens.
Some
touch wood.
unfortunate things.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm just saying that
force
we should
majeure is
do
what
it.
we
Yeah,
call it.
we should do it before it's too late. That implement stricter laws for construction, because lives could be lost because of such things.
For this, government has to make a platform where to start with, just not about quality and procedures and all. There is no support for a precaster in India. Government has to give some subsidies. Government should support precast companies to pick up, and we are part of the economy. We are part of the growing up economy, and we are one of the major supporters for, speeding up the process. So we have to be taken into consideration. I believe the government is looking at us now, but we would be happy if government will give more benefits and more business to the precasters.
I think there is some funding announced in the recent budget. It's called the viability gap funding, where the government will fund 40% of your factory cost and also give you assured projects like, say, 500 units, 1,000 units, 5,000 units, assured projects and funding together if you are ready to put in the initial investment. This is announced, but I don't know.
Yeah, we are looking forward for it to materialize.
Yeah, materialize. So I hope it happens soon. Now, I think there were two big factories that I know, one in Delhi and one in Bangalore. Don't want to take names, but both failed. Mega factories. Why do you think that happened?
See, as looking at the Indian market, having fancy precast factories is not really feasible.
Okay.
You can start with a basic plant or maybe a medium-sized plant, and you can always scale up. Yeah, because we are in concrete business, there are timelines for pouring, your setting time, your stripping time. Everything has to be followed with timelines. It's not like a PEB building or any other building where you can work 24-hour cycle. It's about steel fabrication and all. And we don't see that kind of profits when compared to other methodologies, as I just said about prefabricated buildings. They do, I've seen companies who do even 1,000-1,200 crore turnover per annum prefab, but precast cannot achieve that much. So whenever we're talking about precast,
What is the difference between prefab and precast?
Prefab is the making it's a factory made building again, but all the sections are made with steel. Prefabrication. Precast is casting, where we deal with concrete here.
So PEB comes under prefab.
PEB comes under prefab.
Okay. What about the the prefab buildings that we talk about with cement boards and like a porto cabin that they stack on one top of the other? Is that a big market here?
That is a modular method. Indians prefer to have a permanent house.
Okay.
So
because these are temporary structures.
These are temporary structures.
Okay. Moving. So, can you name some precast factories in India?
Yes, very much. I can start with some infra companies who have their own, for their captive consumption. And there's a company called as Bolin Sinai Constructions Private Limited.
Can you? What is they have?
It's in Hyderabad.
Can you repeat that?
BSCPL.
Okay.
It's a company. Then Shangri-La Infra. It's actually a subsidiary of theirs. Then we have BN Precast in Gujarat. BN Precast is a proper precast company. Then we have many companies.
PSP.
PSP, Urbanac in Gujarat. Then Soba.
In Bangalore.
Bangalore. Then Hyderabad, there are a couple of companies. There are a few companies in Mumbai also.
Okay. Now, when it comes to these precast factories, they are not like we spoke about those two factories that shut down. You think these factories have designed the factory in a way to be sustainable? You think they are sustainable companies?
I would not really go into depth of the other company's failure. There may be many reasons what might have happened, but widely known in the market is due their financial inabilities. There was some advances taken and the diversion of funds, and it's not really
okay. So it's not
because of precast.
Okay, it's not because of precast. That's my point actually.
Yeah,
so it's not
really
because of precast. Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question that I get asked 100 times a day. What is the average cost of a precast factory? Now, I understand that there are many variables in this, the size of the factory, the projects you want to cater to, but I want to give people a ballpark figure so that they understand whether they can start this or no, and what is the starting price.
Yeah, actually, this is the same question we also receive a day in, day out. People look at Holocore as just a machine. It actually comes as a package. Just extruder will not help to set up a Holocore factory business. We would require extruder, we would require cutting saw, we would require stressing abutments, we would require casting beds, stripping, stripping and handling equipment, the stressing machine, anchors. It's an entire package. So as I said, for anybody who is willing to set up 150, 200, 250 and 300 thickness modules of Holocore with a daily production capacity of say like 2000 square feet per day, or otherwise to say 4000 square feet, because extruder can cast 2 beds per day of 150-meter long if we compare properly, and considering six casting lines, it will typically cost anywhere between 5 to 7 crores.
Okay. Is this including the land or excluding?
This excludes everything else. This is just for the Holocore
Machinery only.
Apart from Holocore machinery, we would be requiring a batching plant of a decent size as required as per our production planning. Specifically, planetary mixer is recommended. Then we would be requiring an EOT or gantry as per the plant size and the fab planning.
Okay, and what about the shed?
Shed also, again, these are the external costing which has to plan for the entire factory.
So I would say, can I just say, but ballpark 8 to 8.2, 8.5 CR, you can get everything.
8.5 CR is
You can get everything.
At,
okay. Yes. As a start for a Holocore factory.
Correct.
Okay.
With all the 4 modules.
Yeah.
If you want to start with only 2 modules, that will come down by another 50, 60 lakhs.
Yeah. I mean, if person is spending 7.5, would rather give the 50 more to have all the modules.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when it comes to India specifically, now with the growth that is happening in India, do you think that a precast business is only for the bigger players? I mean, 7 to 8 CR for a mid-sized company also is not a big investment. So, is it a headache to run a precast factory?
Not really. Precast. To talk about Holocore is the simplest thing to do. It needs hardly 5 to 6 people for casting of Holocore for the entire process: casting, cuttings, stripping, curing, and loading. Then on the site for erection, we hardly need 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
We are mechanizing more here and minimizing the manpower. And apart from that, when we are dealing with precast, the people are not doing laborers work. Most of the things are done by machine only. For instance, if I have to talk about erection on the site, see, there will be one person standing on the trailer with the slings. Once the crane moves towards the vehicle, he will just put both the slings to the slab and crane lifts it. It goes to the erection position. There are 2 people standing there. They'll simply hold it and put it to the position.
Yeah. I mean, of course, when we did it, we had 2 safety people for each gang.
Yes. Yeah. I'm talking about the core people who are handling it. Yes.
I mean, I'm saying because here it's not followed. I know you will see, we have to say it, but it's not followed here.
Right.
I hope more people follow it. When I talk about precast business, can smaller players also get into it, or is it only for the bigger players?
See, let's put it in the proper format first. Precast is again construction only. So as a business, it can be anybody can do it. When every person has become a contractor, every engineer or every business person with proper acumen can be a precaster. It's all about how government will support us, and how it will
So wait, are you saying that if there is no government support, it is going to be difficult?
It is still, as of today, there are many precast companies who are surviving. They're not really doing business as planned.
Okay. What about the GST? So you buy material with GST. I mean, the raw material with GST. Then you sell at GST. Is there any rebate for that?
There's no rebate as such. There is no special perks for a precast company. No subsidy for setting up factory. No subsidy on the material. Everything we have to pay. And the other part here is, at least in cast in situ and other methods, you have the raw material and you get the payment leverage. here in Precast, because we are serving you with the finished product. Every element is a finished product otherwise, if you look at it. And, as we are supplying a finished product, we don't see, any credit applicable for this. So we end up paying everything in cash first, and then it's kind of a risky business. What all the precasters are doing at the moment.
Okay, I'm glad that you brought in the cons also of starting a precast factory. If you have to compare precast construction and cast in situ construction, how would you convince somebody? Like, not technical. I'm talking about plain. If it's a layman who's not an engineer, who's the final user of the building.
Right.
How would you say that precast is better than
See,
traditional?
typically, if we have to, compare in that sense, if I have to explain this to a contractor, what I would say is, let's take it being a rainy season. Rainy season projects don't happen with the pace as planned. So what you see on the site is you see cement stocks, you see, raw material stock like, coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, and there's just stock you have. You cannot calculate how much building is ready and how much time it is going to be converted to building. But coming to precast, in all weather conditions, precast will work. Casting can be done in a factory controlled conditions. And down the lane, there are elements which will be cast and numbered and kept ready for deliverables. So a contractor, eventually, after paying up, starting the project, let's say, even any advancement happening on the site through force majeure, maybe because of rain or any other conditions, but your building is already being manufactured, which means down the lane after 2 months, if the contractor wants to know how much building is ready, we do have inventory. How much slab is prepared, how much wall panel is prepared, or how many elements are made. With this, we can, the contractor can calculate how much part of the building is already ready.
That's good. Okay. Thank you so much, Dinesh, for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for
We'll end
having
it
me
here. Although we are going to be in closer touch now because most of my clients are also looking to start Holocore factories, so we'll be in touch. Additionally, now if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
We have our website available, which is www.technocore.in.
I'll put the website in the bio as well. Thank you guys for joining us today. So I've put all the links in the bio. Additionally, if you want to know more about precast concrete, how to manufacture it, how to install, how you can get into the market, how you can start a precast factory, I've put the link for our free webinar in the bio. Please register. It's free of cost again. I'll say that again. You can come, and it's a 1.5 hour session where we discuss everything about precast. It's live, it's not recorded. I will be there, and we can discuss on how you can start your precast factory. And thank you for joining me again today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.